Who I believe to be the true birthers of choosing beggars, it's entitled parents. Our first one is from Carl the Well Endowed. So this happened when I was in high school, and my dad only told me about it recently. Our church had done a bunch of fundraisers and had raised money to drive down to the Bay Area to help establish a church in an old gymnasium. So a group of 31 kids and 9 adults went on this trip. We had raised a little extra money to do some fun activities and go out to a couple of meals. For one of the meals, we all voted to go to an all-you-can-eat Mongolian grill. This was a terrible idea for a group of our size. There was a family who showed up as we, the adults, were figuring out the logistics of getting that many teenagers through the restaurant, so we let them go first. Everyone got through the line and my dad covered the bill without church funds. While we were eating, my dad double-checked the numbers and realized that we were charged for 46 plates instead of 40. When he noticed this, he mentioned it to the other staff, and as he was going up to talk with staff, the family who had showed up finished their meals and headed out. Turns out, that family had claimed to be part of our group, and their plates were put on our tab. They rushed out when they realized they had been caught. My dad ended up not fighting it and covering their portion out of his money. Only $60, but still. I know they didn't realize we were a mission group, but who the fuck would do something like this? We had worked pretty hard to raise money for this, so even though I found out years later, it really pissed me off. It's amazing how you showed kindness to those people, so they didn't have to wait in a super long line, only for them to turn around and steal from you because that's effectively what they did. So your generosity was turned into their selfishness. This next one is by Thrower Lifestyle. All I hear from my mom is how much she wants a grandbaby, when I'll be giving her one. It's getting annoying, and I've told her countless times I'm not ready to have any children as of now. We've even had an argument about it. Maybe this is common for mothers to say whenever their daughter reaches a certain age, but it's just getting too much. I've suggested why she doesn't pressure my younger sister to give her kids. We're not that much different in age. Mom says she's got potential to achieve more things in her life. I'm shocked. Like, am I not capable or worthy of accomplishing more? I'm aware my sister is favored in the golden child, but will I finally be recognized if I give my mom a grandbaby? I have my associates, just got my bachelor's, currently working on my master's, and have a solid career. My parents are aware of all this, yet I'm pressured to have a child soon. Not happening, by the way. The only time you should have a child is when you're ready to have one, because when you're ready, that means it will flow a lot better than when you're not ready, and having a child for another person is the wrong reason to have a child. I'm glad you're staying firm with your decision. This next one is from Spiced Cinnamon Cake. My mom and I were driving around one of those indoor parking lots and went up one of the ramps only for it to be blocked by a massive car, owned by these two entitled parents because they wanted to reverse it. The mom was trying to get the stroller out of the back, and before you knew it, the dad was moving the car backwards. Then they started yelling at each other, and by now there are about 4 more cars behind my mom and I. Car behind us honked, and the entitled people started to just half yell at us and half at each other. Needless to say, we were stuck for another 10 minutes. You would think the least they could have done was settle their vehicle before trying to pull out the stroller and even bickering with one another. Move out of the way so other people can go by, but when you're entitled parents and you feel entitled to the parking lot like it's yours, this is what plays out. This next one is by Shani DeVito. When I was younger, I would volunteer at my church during the holidays for a toy drive. My mom was one of the event organizers. The way this event worked is a family signs up to sponsor a child or children. The family is then given a list written by the child of desired items along with a short description of the child's age, their likes, and any special needs. I was around 12 or 13 and noticed my former teacher's name on the list. This woman hated me. I'm the youngest in my family, and she had a kid my oldest brother's age. She had a vendetta against me because of something to do with them. In her class, we used to play this math game, Around the World, to learn multiplication, and anytime my turn came up, she told me I was wrong. Even when it was something as silly as 3 times 3, she would snap, I was wrong, and then laugh. Like, oh never mind. It was humiliating, and I hate math to this day because of her. Anyway, being nosy, I read about the child she selected. Simple enough to fulfill. All he wanted was different textured plush stuffed animals. He was a teenaged male with sensory and developmental issues from cerebral palsy. All he asked for during Christmas was stuffed toys to pet. Entitled Parent waited last minute to tell us she wasn't going to buy him gifts. In fact, Entitled Parent wasn't going to say anything. My mom called her to ask about a status update since the toys were being loaded up and delivered to houses. Once my mom realized who she was talking to, my mom snapped. She asked when Entitled Parent was going to drop a check off that day since she's too useless to honor the toy drive by following through with her commitment, because surely she wasn't callous enough to deliberately select this child and then ignore him. Entitled Parent was taken aback. She dropped the check to my mom, and my mom smiled at her and told her not to bother signing up next year, that other more willing families will volunteer. And of the 300 volunteers, Entitled Parent was the only person who didn't fulfill the task. Probably never had anyone address her like that because she's the crabbiest of all entitled parents in Karenland. My mom and I went out and bought tons of cool stuffed animals and tactile items for him. I don't know, probably a long story about nothing, but every year the holidays roll around, I remember how proud I was of my mom for going the extra mile while simultaneously telling Entitled Parent off for being a Grinch. Edited to include, keep in mind most children are requesting bicycles, game consoles, sports equipment, pricey items. This child's list was so sweet and simple to fulfill. This rubs me the wrong way because my son's school is doing a giving tree and I picked 6 different kids to make sure they were covered this holiday, but I do worry about the people, like this Karen, that takes names or volunteers only to not follow through. And our final one is from Imaginary Broccoli 6. I bought a Switch, yay! But it's an Entitled Parent magnet, yay and nay. I was doing some errands while my car was in the shop. I took the tram to do my business. It was going to be a long ride, so I pulled out my Switch and started playing. We stopped and in came a family of 3. The father and the kids sat behind me while the mother went off to buy the tickets. There is a ticket machine inside trams in Germany, in case you don't know. So I was playing and I heard the kid whining about being bored. He asked his dad if he can play. The dad tapped me on the shoulder and asked, "Hey kid, do you mind giving your game to my kid? He's bored." Sorry, I just got this like 2 days ago, so no, sorry. Come on, just give it. He won't break it. Again, no. Is the word no a new word for you? Why are you being such a brute? I asked nicely, and I answered nicely. No, now leave me alone. Entitled Dad seemed to be pissed with my language, so he got up and stood next to me. He flamboyantly falls on me, even though the tram was driving in a straight line, forcing me to move seats. From there, Entitled Dad proceeded to harass me. He slid his shoulder on me, made those grunt noises, clearing his throat so loud next to my ear. Luckily, he was wearing a mask. His kid also joined the harassment by sliding his finger on the back of my neck and making coughing sounds next to my ear. I was so close to being set off and I heard, "What the hell are you two doing?" All 3 of us snapped our necks to the direction and there was the mother. "I leave you for just 2 minutes and there you are harassing this poor fellow. He wouldn't give Entitled Kid his game." So fucking what? Our ride is only 2 stops away, and Entitled Kid can handle 15 minutes without a gadget anyway. But Mom, I was— Shut up, Entitled Kid. Mom looked towards me. I'm so sorry for these 2. On top of raising a kid, I also have to raise an adult toddler. Points to Entitled Dad. I nodded and smiled a bit, but I doubt she saw it because of my mask. At the next stop, the mom legit grabbed both Entitled Dad and Entitled Kid by the ears and dragged them off the tram, screaming about how they can't go out peacefully. Clearly it shows who wears the pants in the family. Nothing was destroyed except Entitled Dad's dignity and pride. To be quite frank, I don't think the entitled dad had much dignity or pride, because if you had either of the two, you wouldn't carry yourself the way he did. And I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the few stories I'm shocked that the mom is not entitled. I love how she handled those two. Alright, that's enough entitlement for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Entitled Parents. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.